Welcome to HB RV Lifestyle, the podcast. I am the host, the Honey Badger, here to give it to you straight and transparent about the RV business, as well as other things. Big show today. It's the inaugural live stream every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're no longer doing pre-recorded shows. We're live, and we're going to have a bunch of fun. Now, before I get started, a couple things. Number one, this should be a lot of fun because my reactions live are a lot more fun than my pre-recorded ones. Number one. Number two, it gives you guys the opportunities to ask me more questions. So here's kind of what we're going to do. In the future, at Livingston RV Services on Facebook, the Twitter account, I'll put that in the bottom. Join me on Twitter. Join me on Facebook. You could send me questions through Twitter and through Facebook, and I will answer them live on the podcast. Also, I will answer them same day if you send them to me in the morning during the podcast. Okay. Where we need to start today is there is Capital Talk. These guys are fun. Nexus RV to add towables division in 2025. Beginning with fifth wheels, the units will be part of Nexus Axiom Recreational Vehicle Division, while Axiom will share some services with Nexus. Donati explained the towable division is going to be totally separate logo, separate brand names, separate workforce. He expects the first prototype sometime in the coming spring months, with production rolling off the line for the 2026 year model. I haven't gotten to... What's up, Grimy? What's up, Skylar? Good morning. I haven't gotten to the motorized section of my top 5 worst, top 5 best list. Nexus recently, not in the past, but more recently, has not been impressive as far as motorhomes. Number one, their motorhomes are way overpriced compared to the product that you're actually getting. That's one. And number two, I now know of 5 dealerships west of the Mississippi River that went out of business because they were either overstocked with Nexus motorhome product, or number two, they were stocked with overpriced Nexus RV product. One of these locations was the single largest location in Southern California. They're gone. You drive by and the lot is completely empty. Kind of sad too, because it was a good location. Not gonna name the dealer, because they're still in business, just in another state. But part of the problem is a lot of the motorized product is supremely overpriced, not necessarily because Nexus wants to overprice it, but because, well, let's face it, the chassis are too much money. It costs a lot of money from the manufacturer of the chassis to actually build one of these suckers. So you're going to go with fifth wheel toy haulers and residential fifth wheels. First off, that's not a smart idea. If Nexus RV wants to go into towables, go make a cheap product. Go make a product that you can get out on the lots, that you can sell. Be the guy. Be the guy out of the entire industry. Be different. Go out there, go build an aluminum sided and a fiberglass sided entry-level travel trailer that lands to the West Coast for, let's say, a 26-foot bunkhouse. Slide out, big bunks, kitchen, U-shaped dinette, couch slide, walk around king bed. Be the guy that builds that coach and it lands on the West Coast for less than 20 grand. Be that guy. Because that's what the industry needs. The industry doesn't need another fifth wheel brand. Nexus, somebody needs to go over and stick a cattle prod up Nexus RV's butt and say, hey, build a cheap travel trailer. That's what the industry needs right now. It needs a cheap, and when I mean by cheap, I mean, like, yeah, the quality might not be that great because of the price point, but we need to get that family of 5, that family of 6, that middle-class family. We need them back in the market. And they're not in the market because all the travel trailers are supremely overpriced because of what happened with inflation, because of what happened with a lot of things. Even though dealership profits are at an all-time low. Dealership profits are at all-time low. They're still priced way higher than they were in 2018, 2019. And it's funny because a lot of folks, no offense to a lot of folks out there that are consumers, but you still don't understand that you're never going to buy these for pennies on the dollar. Let me give you a timeline. 2008, 2009. I'm going to use the little 17B Coleman because everybody built one. Okay? Back in the day when I first got into this. In 2010, when I was a show dog, okay, we had the Forest River Wildwood FSX. It was a 171 BH, if I remember correctly. Basically the same floor plan as a Coleman 17B. It was sold for $5,995. That's what dealerships across America, except for the West Coast, because there was a little more money on the West Coast. But that's what I went to a show in Cleveland, Ohio once. $5,995. In 2013, when I was now a full-time RV salesman at Giant RV, 3 years later, that coach was now $9,995. The economy still wasn't strong. Then by the time I got to Ventura, California at Barber RV in 2000 and, let's see, that was 2015 or 16, that coach was $12,995. Now the economy was a little obviously stronger. So from a recession, the greatest recession we've had since the Great Depression, to 2015, there was only a 5-year gap in the recovery. That coach went up 100%. Now that same coach is being sold for $16,995. Prices are not going to crash. It won't happen. And let me explain why it won't happen. Beyond the monopoly part I talked about, because that's the thing everybody doesn't understand. As dealers close their doors, as the dealer base contracts, competition lowers, prices go up. They don't go down. It doesn't matter what supply and demand are. When you're as big as a Camping World, and I'm picking on Camping World, not intentionally, but they're easy to pick on because they're the biggest. As Camping World gets bigger, and they become pretty much the only game in town, the manufacturers will not let them go out of business. So Camping World can hold higher prices, higher profits as people close their doors. So it's never going to crash. The other reason why it will never crash is because if it does, then the banks, the lending institutions, are going to end up taking back probably close to 80% of the inventory, because what's going to happen is the guy who bought a coach in 2017, not during COVID, he did it right, bought it in 2017, bought it for like 70 grand, 75 grand brand new. If you could buy a brand new one for $20,000, the value of his not even 10-year-old coach is going to be like $500. It's never going to happen. Pennies on the dollar is never going to happen. You guys that are sitting on the sidelines, ready, willing, and able, you need to get off the sidelines. This is as low as it's going to get. 2025 is the last year that dealer profits are going to be minuscule. Because once we go through this crash that we're going to go through economically, dealers are finally going to be able to make money again. Because interest rates will be down by the time spring of 2026 comes around. And as I've always said on this show, as I've always said on the main channel, as interest rates go down, profits for dealers go up. Now, it's okay to wait because you don't want to pay the high interest rate. That's okay. As long as you understand you will be paying a higher price for the unit to pay a lower interest rate. It's the same thing in a car deal. To get 0% interest, you got to pay the higher price. You can't take the rebates. It's the same thing. Same concept. In order to get a lower price on a house or a lower interest rate on a house, you got to buy down the rate. Same concepts. Now, if you're sitting on the sidelines, just saying you're waiting for pennies on the dollar because you want to make a comment, because you don't like me, or you think what I'm saying is full of crap, hey, valid. I'm in. And by the way, the headset's because it's the only real working microphone I have that works across all the platforms. Just so you guys know. Okay. Now, so Nexus RV, if you want to get into the market, building high-end fifth wheels in the middle of what's going to be one of the worst recessions we're ever going to have is just going to put you out of business. Come up with a travel trailer. Get some market share. Nobody's doing it. Nobody. Maybe Avenger by Primetime might be the closest brand across the entire spectrum that's building a travel trailer that is trying to attract that middle class family. Not the ones living in the coach, the folks that go out for a weekend. They go out for 4 weekends a year, 3 weekends a year. They get the kids out of the house. They go to the local lake. They go to the local river. They go camping. And mom can't stand a tent because the kids are wild and obnoxious. She needs a place to lay her head without rocks and sand and air mattresses. Long story, Randall. I'm not going to get into it. It's a long, long story. I'm multi-platform streaming. This is streaming on 4 or 5 different platforms right now. Okay. All right. Here's the other thing I found interesting. And then we're going to get into the drones. The other thing I really want to point out, and because there's not really any kind of breaking news beyond the Nexus RV thing. The problem is, or not the problem is there isn't a lot of news going on. What is amazing and exciting is a few RVers, a few RV YouTubers have come out and retracted their statements saying there's a motorhome sales ban. Golf clap. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for finally admitting that there is no such thing. Thank you for finally doing a video that explains the same truth I've been telling. Thank you. And thank you for putting a title and a thumbnail that isn't clickbait. Thank you. And I think others will follow. And I think RVIA and RVDA and RVbusiness.com, I think they will follow too. Because I think the more this email that I have forwarded out to so many dealers and so many manufacturers, that's right, manufacturers have asked for that email from the California Air Resource Board. I think the more that they're reading that email, the more communication they're having with these 6 states, the more I think everybody's realizing that this is not a motorhome sales ban. This is a protest. And I have nothing against it. I would be excited about a protest. A protest is a wonderful thing. And a protest by a company or several companies like Roadmaster, like Freightliner, like Spartan, like Ford, like Chevy, like Mercedes, if they and the RV manufacturers of motorhomes want to get together and implement their own self-imposed protest against selling any motorhomes in any state that has a law similar to California, I'm all in. I'm in support of that. I would come on this podcast every other day and show support for you. Because I think the way they have it set up is complete malarkey, complete baloney. I think it's garbage. I don't disagree with it. But to continue the lie is just plain stupid. It's like a politician that just keeps saying the same lie over and over again just because they were caught in the lie. They don't want to admit they're wrong, right? Because to them, if they admit they're wrong, then, well, then I look weak, or whatever the case may be. But the truth is starting to come out. I saw a TikTok video yesterday while I was uploading the podcast episode. And the TikTok video even mentioned me, which was exciting. Thank you so much to that creator for giving me some credit. I really appreciate it. To the YouTubers that want to continue to tell the lie or allow the lie to continue, I hope you change your mind. I hope you come out and do a video that actually explains it. And by the way, if you want the email from the California Air Resource Board that proves that this is all on the manufacturers, not on the state, I am more than happy to share that information with anybody. I have forwarded it to over 62 dealers now, and 5 motorhome manufacturers have requested that email and has been sent to them. I'm excited. It's good stuff. Okay. All right. Now I got a question yesterday. It was a very good question. Why did all of a sudden I decide to do this live and start doing a live show? I'm going to read you a comment that was made the other day on one of my podcast episodes. And it kind of just showed me that doing it pre-recorded has plateaued. I'm not reaching enough people because I'm too inconsistent, number one. And number two, a true podcast, a true show, a true radio show or podcast has a air schedule. So for the last 5 weeks, I've kind of studied some people. Obviously, Joe Rogan, I've studied him very well. I've studied Howard Stern, both now and past Howard Stern. Pardon me. I studied, I know a lot of you probably will hate me for doing this, but I studied Rush Limbaugh. I've studied like just several radio hosts and podcasters, including Ryan Seacrest, and just kind of looked at what made their shows successful. What made their independent shows successful. And then the last guy I studied was Pat Murphy, the guy who's on ESPN, was originally an independent. And I just found that if I'm gonna do this for the future, this needs to be a live show and be on a schedule Monday through Friday. Okay. So it says, dude, I don't know. This is what pushed me over the edge to start this sooner. I was going to start it January 1st, but this comment pushed me to do it faster. It says, dude, I don't know why you have not exploded on social media. You bring an education that no one else will tell you about. To be honest, I have unsubscribed a couple of times because I did not want to hear what you are laying down. But then I would see a video that made so much sense, I decided to just take the good with the bad. I bought a Brinkley back in August, and I was convinced you were dead wrong about Brinkley. Turns out, you were mostly right. Of course I'm right. I knew I was right about that. A little narcissism there. Okay. I paid cash for a Z3400, and it has had more issues than you can shake a stick at. So far, they have replaced the Furrion refrigerator, the Furrion microwave controller, and the Furrion AC in the bedroom. Heat pump still doesn't work. Pieces of trim falling off, kitchen faucet fell apart, door pops open going down the road, pocket door won't stay on its track, Furrion battery monitor does not work because of a bad cable which they knew about at the factory because they tried to tape it in place. TV had a bad screen and had to be replaced. Now in Brinkley's defense, they have gone above and beyond to take care of the issues, but for being the golden child, I could not believe all the issues they are having. And I'm not the only one, as I have been very vocal on their social media. There are a lot of folks complaining about faulty seals on their bearings leaking, saturating the brake pads, rendering them useless. I suspect the NTSB catches a hold of that. There will be a recall. I only hope it happens before someone gets hurt or unalived. So I guess this is me eating a big dish of crow. Keep doing what you're doing. I know you have stumbled on hard times, but I really believe you will turn that corner and will be in a much better spot soon. P.S. I had no illusions that I would not have any problems because we all know this comes with the lifestyle. I just was not prepared for the amount of problems with the Brinkley. Toolkit and sense of humor. What can I say? Except that pushed me over the edge to do it live. So thank you. Speaking of Brinkley. Now, with the wiring and the seals and the brakes problems and stuff like that people are complaining about, that's on Brinkley, okay? Furrion, man, it's just so terrible that realistically there's very little competition that builds a good quality RV appliance. And then again, you also have to understand that these appliances are in a constant shake. So imagine and this is me defending Brinkley. I know. What the heck? Why is he defending Brinkley? Well, I defend everybody when they deserve defense, okay? When a RV of any kind is going down the road, it is a 9.0 earthquake. So if your house, your apartment, your condo, your townhome, whatever you live in, was in a constant state of an earthquake, how long would your appliances last? Not very long. So things go wrong. They always have. They always will. When it comes to the appliances, that's that's tough to blame on the manufacturer of the actual RV. Okay, it's hard not to blame Furrion on that. Now you can blame Brinkley for picking Furrion as their OEM partner. That's fair. But in the case of the appliances, I don't really go above and beyond to bash a product when an appliance problem occurs. I more or less go after the brakes and the seals. And what I go after is I go after the folks that ignore it. Now, the one thing I've always said about Brinkley is the same as everybody else. They're highly overpriced, highly overrated. But at the same time, as you can see, and if you go through all of the most of the blogs, the people that are having major problems with a Brinkley, again, this is where an independent manufacturer is different than a corporate conglomerate. Whether it's an illusion or whether it's real, Brinkley has made it clear that they are going to take care of the problems. Okay. When the owners were the owners of Grand Design, same thing. Even when they had that major axle problem back in 2016. I mean, it was a disaster of an axle problem. They got it. They did something about it pretty quickly. It was a great sales pitch because all I do is show people the article of how bad the axles were on Grand Design fifth wheels, and for a long time we were able to sell a lot of Bighorns and Landmarks and Big Countries and Rockwood and Flagstaff fifth wheels. So, but again, Grand Design made a comeback, and that's the difference. See, that's what happens when you build a company. When you build a company in order to sell it off, okay, and this is anything, this is cell phone companies, this is car manufacturer, engine manufacturer, transmission manufacturers. Anytime that you come up with a product and you scale it, it gets bought out. Look at Ring with Amazon, perfect example. And the difference is these guys that are the owners of Brinkley were the owners of Grand Design, the owners of a couple other companies that within 4 or 5 years, they sell the product, they sell the manufacturer, they sell the company. They scale it, they do a good job with the customer service, the people are relatively positive about the product, and then they escape on a golden parachute and make a ton of money, high-five each other, and do it again. Because they're going to sign a non-compete clause in the boat industry, in the RV industry, whatever industry they decide to go and take their marketing magic and and their knowledge and go and build another company. What I would like to see them do, and I haven't said this yet, but this is what I would like to see them do, when they sell Brinkley, not if, but when, which might be a few years at this point, because of the economy and a lot of other problems in just the industry in general. What I would like to see them do is start a company that competes with Lippert. Now that might piss the Lippert guys off, but I would like to see these guys, this group of guys, with their knowledge, their money, their resources, and go start a company that competes with Lippert, with BAL, with a lot of these RV OEMs, and build that. Frames, air conditioners, appliances. Take what they know how to do customer service-wise, marketing-wise, scaling-wise, and go into the parts part of the RV, power sports, and boating industry. I would love to see them do that, because I think if that group of guys got together and did that, they would give BAL and Lippert a run for their money, and I think it would make a lot of the components that are used in RVs better quality, because now there's more innovation, more money being thrown at it, and more competition for that innovation. It's not going to drop pricing, But I would say with their knowledge, and believe me, this group of guys, they've been at Keystone. Keystone sold. They've been at Grand Design. They sold Grand Design. It's going to be an eventuality when they sell Brinkley, okay? It's just a matter of when, okay? They've been through enough of the problems. They've been through enough of the disasters. They've been through enough of the just flat out garbage problems that sometimes components have. They could take that knowledge and instead of building a $500 or $600 million company, build a $4 or $5 billion company. I believe they could do that. And I believe they could extend themselves so far into the industry that they could go into multiple platforms and multiple, I guess the only word is industries. That's okay, Mike. How you doing? I just read your comment that you made the other day. So that's what I would really like to see the Brinkley guys do when they sell. So instead of going back and building a boat company or going back and building maybe something else, go build a parts conglomerate. Go make NTP and Lippert and all these guys, give them a run for their money. Because I think they could do it. I think that's the biggest improvement that they could make in the industry is if they took all the problems that they've learned over the last freaking 15, 20 years and go, hey, we're going to build a company that's going to build a better part, better component. Whoops, glare's coming in. Moving over here. Nope. Yep. Okay. Nope, that's not going to work. Oh well, sorry about the glare. So anyway, we're going to just move quickly so we can get the glare out of your way. Okay. All right, glare is out of the way. Just move to another shady spot. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is these drones. Has everybody heard of the drones that are going on? There's drones over New Jersey. There's drones over Temecula, California. And there's a bunch of people out there that are saying that, oh, the Pentagon destroyed a mothership of Iran, and Iran's using these drones to attack the United States. Some lawmaker actually was talking about this. And there's tons of video. There's tons of just all kinds of stuff. And it's just craziness. So here, this was 13 hours ago. They're starting to like post videos of all these drones that are flying over Temecula, California. So what I did was I googled drones over Temecula, and everything is either UFO or attacks from our enemies, or that it's China. Here's the best one. That China is photographing the wine vineyards so that way they can duplicate Temecula, California for a new regime of soldier that's going to infiltrate the United States and attack it from within. Here's a good one. This is on X. It's a combined attack force dropping a chemical powder into the atmosphere to create a new pandemic similar to COVID. Nobody knows. Let me put it this way. These drones are not like aircraft. They're large military style drones, meaning it's not something that's a cheap drone that you can buy at Radio Shack, okay? But looking at this, if there was a major problem, if this was an enemy attacking us, throwing stuff in the air, if there was any kind of enemy intelligence, Donald Trump, who's the incoming president, and Joe Biden, who's the outgoing president, would have already put something in place where the military would be shooting these things down. Yeah, it's Santa doing a practice run. There you go. The real... Look, it makes for great content. The people that are posting the videos of this stuff are blowing up on social media. And they're coming up with all kinds of great, like, sci-fi stories out of it. And more than likely, someone in Hollywood or someone somewhere is writing a script now of of a movie or a television series that includes drones attacking the United States. So it makes for great content. But the reality is we really don't know who owns them and what they're doing with it. If I were to make a theory, my theory would be is someone, because if you look where these drones are, especially in California, I'm not sure about New Jersey because I don't know New Jersey, but where these drones are in Temecula, Murrieta, Big Bear, all these places, I would assume it's insurance companies. I would assume someone from the insurance companies hired a team of people to start going to all these states and taking drone footage of people's houses, properties, things of that nature. And I believe the reason why they're doing it is because I think that a lot of insurance companies are trying to increase their premiums, deduct coverage. I think they're trying to justify to Congress, justify to the federal and state governments their price increases on their premiums. And I think what they're doing is they're having these drones photograph and video all these properties that are around fire zones, or what's considered fire zones, because if you look at a lot of where the drones are hovering, there's a lot of dry brush areas, there's wine vineyards, there's forests that have been dried up, there's people that live in rural areas where there's a lot of property and a lot of wilderness around. If you go look at where these drones are being found, they're in high fire zone areas in California. So if I were to come up with a theory, it would be that it's the insurance companies trying to basically gather evidence for their hearing they're going to have with the new Senate and the new House of Representatives in January to come testify why their premiums are getting jacked through the roof. I think they're trying to justify this. That would be my theory. Don't know if I'm right, but that's the closest theory that makes sense. Because if it's private citizens just spying on people to be jerks, that's pretty screwed up. That's really screwed up. Okay. Moving on. Let me get over here to you. Okay. Okay. Somebody asked me, I got an email earlier today. They asked me about Christopher A. Wray and him, basically becoming, basically retiring from the FBI or resigning from the FBI. All I can say is that stuff's all going to sort itself out. It's great content for the manufacturers, or not the manufacturers, for the politicians and news agencies. It just keeps their dollars and cents all pocketed in their pocket. I mean, come on. We all know that there's always ebbs and flows of a transition of power. That's just one of the many things. Looking for... Give me a second here. Okay. All right. Now, the last thing I want to talk about today is ChatGPT. Okay, now there's something, and I can't show it to you on this because I don't have it downloaded. I have it downloaded on the iPhone. But we had a bunch of drones in northeastern Colorado, very rural area. There you go. See, it's very like, I just have a feeling it's something to do with insurance companies. I really do. ChatGPT. Now I use ChatGPT myself for a lot of things. I don't use the paid one. I use the free version. I use AI thumbnail maker anymore just because of time. I used to make them myself when I had more time. I don't have a lot of time anymore, so they're terrible thumbnails. I'm just hoping that people watch. What I am very, very concerned about when it comes to ChatGPT is when it shuts down, when it is down, when we don't get an explanation that makes sense why an AI program goes down. It makes you wonder, how far should we take AI? Elon's got his robot and his self-driving cars. How much of a reality, how much control over our lives are we going to allow artificial intelligence? How far would I ever do a collaboration video with Josh the RV Nerd or Liz Amazing? It depends on the situation. I would lean more towards Josh. If I were to do a collab, I would rather, like, if I were to do so, I mean, I would have both of them on the podcast. But so, okay, that's a complicated question. Then I'll finish my thought on AI. I would love to have Josh, but Josh would not be able to answer my questions. That's the hard part. Josh and I could not have a candid conversation. I think he would want to have a candid conversation. I think deep down him and I would have a, kind of like two guys having a beer, having a talk over things. I think he's the guy I could have that with, but I don't think he would be allowed to. Okay. When you start getting yourself involved in large corporations with large legal teams, there's a lot on the line. So everything you say has to be kind of scripted. And this goes for anything. This isn't just Josh and Bish's. This is any spokesperson. This is like Flo from Progressive. How about we use her as an example? If Flo from Progressive was on a podcast, Progressive would have to give her a script of things that she can say and can't say. And they would train her and teach her how to answer hard questions that are meant to get a reaction or get an answer, and how to answer it without answering it like a politician. So it would be, as much as I'd want to have Josh on the podcast and have that kind of conversation, he wouldn't be able to at this time. Now, if the day comes where he's no longer affiliated with a corporation, I think him and I would be able to sit down and have that talk. I think it would be great. I think it'd be great for the community. I think it'd be great for the industry to hear from the original transparent RV YouTuber, the guy who pretty much was my inspiration to doing this. Most people don't know that, but Josh was actually my inspiration to doing this podcast and doing my main YouTube channel. And this is obviously before Haylett RV was bought out. This is back when he was not affiliated with Bish's at all. And he was the inspiration. My only goal at that time was to just fill in the gaps that he just doesn't cover. I mean, as many years as he's been doing it, you have to pick and choose your battles, especially when you have a family like he does. And so, it would be really great, but I know it's not possible. Liz, on the other hand, could do the podcast. I just don't know if I don't know if her and I can have that same conversation. Liz is, I mean, I'm pretty brutal when manufacturers do something stupid and they don't step up and take care of things. I'll give you an example. There was a manufacturer, an executive of a motorhome company, that I had been sending messages about certain things on LinkedIn. And I came into a young lady on TikTok that was having, like, she wasn't able to use her motorhome for the entire 5 months she's bought it because it's just falling apart. And he blocked me on LinkedIn. Like, I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to sit in my ivory tower. And I'm like, so did I go after that person? I didn't name them. I'm not going to name them because I'm hoping that bridge can get repaired. But at the same time, the company needed to know and the community needed to know that they screwed the pooch so bad and they're not taking care of this lady. She spent $175,000 on a coach that has no slide. It's a B van, and she hasn't been able to use it. 5 months, 175 grand, hasn't been able to use it. It's been in and out of service departments with just stuff that's should have been done at the factory. Okay. But at the same time, I want to give companies credit. Like, when, not if, when Grand Design RV finally comes out and says, hey, we really screwed up with this frame problem and we've been working on a solution, because I know that they are working on a solution, because I've had a lot of service people tell me that Grand Design specifically has been working with companies like the Affinity Group and other companies across the United States to basically come up with a solution to permanently fix anybody that has frame failure or frame flex. Because a lot of frame failure and frame flex, the fixes are not working. When they come out and say that, and it's no longer rumor or conjecture, I'm going to come on and give them credit. I'm going to give them credit because credit is due. I don't know if Liz can give people credit. Liz is, and it's nothing against her. I have nothing against her personally. I actually admire her because she's taken basically a niche that gives her a lot of hate, gets her a lot of people where she doesn't feel comfortable even revealing where she is at a certain time. She doesn't go to people to actually do the in-person interviews because she feels like she's feared for her life. I don't think she has anything to fear. I think that's a little over-exaggerated on her part. But imagine the hate I get. She gets it probably 100 times worse. So I don't know if that would ever work. I don't think someone scared her. I think, see, what scares people, Mike, is the loss of money. Okay? YouTubers of every industry, every niche that's not political, is getting hammered. Ad revenues severely down. Sponsorships are severely down. You have a lot of people that are full-time RVers that are trying to live the lifestyle for the next 5-10 years. So they start a YouTube channel. They start putting clickbait thumbnails and creating drama in a reality show type of environment. And, they get sponsorships and they get ad revenue, and that's how they are able to travel the country and live out the RV lifestyle like they intended to. It's a very expensive thing to travel across the country. Lots of fuel. You're going to run into that earthquake on wheels type of thing, that toolkit and sense of humor thing. There needs to be funds to do that, right? When the funds are drying up, and there's a threat of you getting your money taken from you, you tone things down. Okay? She has come out and said on a couple of occasions that she knows that she's taken some things too far. Okay? And that's okay. Push it to the limit. I have no problem with her pushing things to the limit. I admire her. Again, I admire that she built a business out of it. I don't like the fact that she's scared out of her mind to not let people not do meet and greets. That's not cool. I think she would be a valuable asset to the manufacturers if she'd stop burning bridges. Like, I didn't understand why the executive for a while wanted to burn a bridge with me. But that one executive that I was talking about a few months ago, I don't understand why he wanted to burn a bridge with me. It's like, I've now received emails from a Forest River toy hauler manufacturer. I've received communications from several executives across the RV manufacturing spectrum. I've made contacts with the banking side. I've made contacts with the dealership side, service centers. And they all feed me information because I'm not going to put people on blast and do all that. I'm going to take some of the information. I'm going to try to verify it as much as I can. Then I'm going to share it because I think that education is very helpful to the community and the consumer. Liz and Josh are just on two different sides of the spectrum. The three guys that probably would be the best people to collab with that aren't so connected directly to the RV industry would be Jason at RV Miles. I think he would be a great guy to have a conversation with. He's gonna put me. He would definitely be a very good conversation. It would be like Joe Rogan and Robert Downey Jr. having a conversation, or Joe Rogan. It would be like Joe Rogan having some of his best guests on. Is him and I going at it. I think that would be an amazing conversation that I think would be very healthy for the industry. I think JD at Big Truck Big RV, I think he would be a really good conversation. And again, it has to be someone independent, and that's the problem. It has to be someone that's not connected to a corporation. When I was going to have Jason Lippert on this podcast, and that's my fault. I still feel really bad that I didn't that I let my ego get in the way and basically politely tell him to go pound sand. I should have still had him on here. My goal with Jason Lippert at the time was, yes, the frame problems need to come into light, but at the same time, what solutions could be down the road. But there's other things that needed to be talked about. And this is crazy, but the future of solar. I wanted to talk to him, have him talk about that. The future and what the challenges are with lithium batteries and solar panels. What's the challenge? Because there's so many people west of the Mississippi that dry camp. Dry camping is really a West Coast phenomenon. If you go look at the emails I get from GMs and product managers at different brands, they always tell me the West Coast is really difficult from an Indiana perspective to build for, because on the East Coast, east of the Mississippi River, is where 2/3 of our population lives, and they go to campsites and plug in most of the time. So the dry camping, the off-grid camping thing is mainly a West Coast RV phenomenon. And that's just because how much space we have that's not lived in. Okay? So I wanted to talk to Jason Lippert about that. I wanted him to talk about the future of air conditioners. Air conditioners cannot stay the same that they are right now. There's not enough power with the electric grid going on and the electric power problems that everybody's having because of electric cars and infrastructure. How can we get to the point where, ACs in RVs in general become more efficient and at the same time keep the coach cooler? How do we get it down? What technology, what advances can we make where instead of it being 18 degrees cooler in the coach, could we get it to 30 degrees cooler in the coach and it use less power? So I'll explain that in a minute, Skylar. But so that's kind of what I want to talk about with Jason. And at the time, Mr. Lippert, in all his, all his glory and everything, he was willing to do it. He was willing to sit down. He was going to take an hour out of his day. I'm the idiot that got upset over something he said during an earnings call. Not going to tell you what it was. You can speculate all you want. And, I sent him an email saying, yeah, after listening to your earnings call, I don't think it's a good idea. Come on here. And that's because what he said created a situation in my mind where it's like, and this is what I was talking about when it came to hit of adrenaline over views. Most of what got this podcast monetized on YouTube is talking about frame failure and frame flex. I mean, we covered it extensively here. And we covered other things like interest rates, used RV market all at the same time. And those got a lot. The used RV market podcast still to this day is the most watched podcast episode I have. But that news segment is what got me to the monetization of requirements here on YouTube and on Facebook. No, Jason from RV Miles. Jason Lippert. Sorry, we were talking about Jason Lippert. No, he's the CEO of Lippert Industries. But he said something, and I'm like, you know what? That just kind of just took all the purpose out of what I wanted to do. And instead of just proceeding and saying, you know what, I'll just take all the hate over not asking him about it, or not attacking and making that the episode and doing what I planned, because the plan was for an educational experience for people, so that way they know they can take their old RV and upgrade it, or they can look forward to what's going to be in the newer RVs when they're ready to upgrade to a newer RV. So it was my bad. It was my problem. I shouldn't have done it. It's just the way it is. Now, to answer your question, Skylar, about JD, there's a lot of RV YouTubers besides JD that does not show their face. Okay? There are a lot of faceless RV YouTube channels. There's a lot of faceless YouTube channels and Tuk Talk channels all across the platforms. Some people, I'll give you an example. I had a guy in here in the car that was driving Uber, and his wife put a kibosh on his cooking YouTube channel because he was starting to get recognized in public. And she hated it. She didn't want anybody to recognize him. She was very solitary and everything else. And it was already too late for him. So he started another YouTube channel, another cooking YouTube channel that never shows his face. It only shows his hands and only shows his kitchen and only shows his that stuff. He never shows his face. And that's for his privacy. He never shares his email. He never shares his phone number. He never talks to people. He created a ghost accounts for social media that are for the cooking channel and the cooking channel only. And now his wife's good and they make pretty good money. So, I think that's probably something personal that JD probably has with his family or maybe with himself, where maybe he wants, there's a big possibility that JD wants to go to RV shows and not want to be recognized. Maybe he just wants to walk around without anybody bugging him like he's a customer and be able to go through the units without being pulled aside and, hey, are you going to do this? And, hey, are you going to do that? And, hey, are you going to do this? Hey, are you going to do that? Hey, can you spotlight this? Hey, can you spotlight that? I mean, that's a personal thing that JD will have to explain one day. And I'm pretty sure he's at least addressed it a couple of times. I don't know if he's addressed it recently, but I'm pretty confident Jason has JD has addressed it prior. I'm very confident that he has. So I think that if you, Skylar, I think if you, I know he's very active on Instagram. So I'm pretty sure if you send him a direct message on Instagram or Facebook, I'm pretty sure he'll respond and give you an answer. That's something that really, I was nervous for a long time to show my face. If you go back to my old videos, they're really bad. But if you go back to my older videos on this thing, I didn't show my face for almost 6 months. The first time I showed my face on the main channel was when I did the RV Finance Basics video, which is a horrible video that still gets 300-400 views a month. And I cringe every time I go, oh my God, is that what people are watching me do? Oh my God, I'm so bad. So bad. I mean, I'm no Steven Spielberg, but this is lightning years ahead of where I was months ago. But great question, Skylar. I mean, that's an amazing question. Okay, so let me go, because I had this kind of flowed out. So going back to AI real quick. So ChatGPT was down a couple of times yesterday and the day before. And one of the things that I'm seeing is, how far do we want to take AI? I think where we're at with AI is where it should stop. I think having robots, having self-driving vehicles, I think that's taking it too far. I think having ChatGPT, some of these AI programs that help with thumbnails and help with certain things are okay. I'm not going to say they're great, but they're okay. They help a guy like me that can't afford employees, can't even hardly afford food right now. And it just helps a guy like me who's just working 16 hours a day. And I don't have time to do a lot of things. But if it goes too far, it's going to hurt more people than it helps. So I'll give you an example. If you go all over YouTube, there's YouTube automation. And it's like, oh, it's all these AI videos that were really cool at first, but now they're trending downward. I just and now those guys, because for a 7 or 8 month period they grew a channel to monetization and made X amount of dollars in revenue, now they're selling a course of how to do it as it's trending down. As it's funny how that works. You get all these the one thing, going back to Josh the RV nerd, the one thing you gotta respect about guys like Josh and guys like Matt RV Reviews and guys like Miles MYLES RV. I always have to distinguish that because there's two of them. The one thing you have to respect about guys like that is they did it on their own. Now, while our industry and our niche will never get a million follower RV educator on YouTube, it'll never happen. Okay? I will never hit 1 million subs. Josh will never hit 1 million subs. Matt will never hit 1 million subs. There's only so many people in the US and Canada that are even interested in RVing. It's a very small niche. And there's probably 200, 300,000 RV YouTubers plus that are fighting for the attention of 1% of the US population every year and 1% of the Canadian population a year. So we're fighting for 10 million people's attention a year. Okay? that's where like I have to evolve this podcast, right? That's what I talked about in yesterday's last pre-recorded episode is I need to expand the podcast, keep the core value of it being the RV industry, RV education, but expand it into other things outdoors related. Fishing, tent camping, hiking, off the grid living, tiny homes. I gotta take this and expand it like a flower out into other spaces that deal with nature. And the one thing that a lot of these these YouTube growth experts all try to tell people is all bullshit. Okay. Josh did it on consistency and improving something. He followed the Mr. Beast formula. The Mr. Beast formula is very simple. Upload a lot, make a lot of mistakes, try to improve something on every video. Matt's RV reviews. You go back in time to his older videos. They're absolute trash. Mine are absolute trash. Josh's are absolute trash. Miles, MYLES's are absolute trash. We all started with trash videos. And all we did was consistently upload and try to improve something every single time. And I get pissed off because of the slow growth. But I looked at my analytics yesterday, and last year, here, I got this written down here. Last year in 2023, I had 241,000 long-form views, meaning folks that watched long-form content or live streams, it was 241,000. This year, we're going to break 1 million. That's pretty damn good. I'm pretty excited. It was like 770,000 so far, so we're going to break 1 million total long-form views in 2 years. That's pretty good. Okay, and that's not including the podcast. This is separate. That's just the main channel. Okay, so I grew exponentially this year, but just trying to improve something. Josh is always improving something. Matt is always improving something. JD at Big Truck Big RV, always improving something. Jason at RV Miles, always trying to improve something. The problem is when you start taking advice from guys like vidIQ, which I have nothing against vidIQ. vidIQ is a very good tool to use. But when you start listening to these SEO YouTube experts and listen to all this overused, overhyped, recycled crap about RV or about YouTube growth in general, you start to realize that growth in the YouTube industry is all luck. Okay. I personally watched a video yesterday by a film student from Cal State Long Beach or Cal State Fullerton. Can't remember. And I watched the video, and it was a video that story, it had this incredible story about the building of a camera. And it's the building of this guy's camera. And the story and the video was like 9 minutes long, but it was so well done. And it was just, to me, I'm like, this guy's going to be a cinematographer, and he's got great storytelling skills. That video has been out for 6 months and has 38 views. The thumbnail looks great. The title looks great. 38 views. And then I turn around and I see this guy, seems like a nice guy, and he's talking about something about an aircraft carrier that is on its way. It's a stealth aircraft carrier that's on its way across the Pacific to attack the Philippine Islands and start making its way to Pearl Harbor again. That we're going to get World War II again. And it's like a 30-minute video where the guy there's no production value, there's no editing. He's just sitting down with a $5 microphone and telling this elaborate lie or conspiracy about the attack on Australia and the attack on the United States that's going to occur by some foreign power that is unknown to us, and they're going to do it with stealth aircraft carriers. 16 million views in 19 days. No thumbnail, just a picture of him, and all the title says is, the U.S. will be attacked by the end of February by a foreign power. That's all it says. 16 million views. 19 days. It's all luck. YouTube is all luck. Here's the luck part of YouTube. The luck part of YouTube is a person has to be sitting on their device in the right moment to watch a video, then be in the right mood to watch a video of that they are interested in, which means they have to actually be interested in your video, interested in your topic. And then they have to be not interrupted by a million things that life interrupts us in. Dinner, honey, can you go do this? Honey, can you go do that? Or with kids, it's, hey, get off your computer, it's time for bed. You have to be lucky enough that YouTube sees, let's say, 100 or 200 people watch your video at least minimum 50% through, on top of between 8 and 12% of them clicking on it, and maybe you got a 5% engagement rate where 5 to 10 people hit the like button. Then YouTube, it signals YouTube, oh, that's a video people like. We'll spread it. That's why I like TikTok better. TikTok will shotgun your video out to 3,000 or 4,000 people in an hour. Half of them will be followers, half of them aren't followers, and then they take that data and they go, oh, spread. And that's how I grew so fast on TikTok this year. Was it just happened to be, if half the people that TikTok sent it to clicked off the app, their algorithm works different than YouTube's. YouTube is very, very much a dinosaur compared to TikTok and Instagram. It's still a dinosaur algorithm that's growing. And anybody who says it's not luck to grow on YouTube is trying to sell you something. So if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel in 2025, just realize you can't get upset when you don't see any views. And you can't get excited if you go viral. If you go viral and you get 200, 300,000 views on one video in a 1-year period, you're not going to replicate it if you only have 3,000 subscribers. You're never going to replicate it. Now, if you have 100,000 subscribers and get 200,000 views, you might replicate it. If you got 10,000 followers on TikTok or on YouTube and your video gets 20,000 views, you could probably replicate that. Excuse me. If you have 200,000 subscribers and you get a video that gets 500,000 views, you could probably replicate it. But if you got 200 subscribers and you get one video that gets 1 million views, you're never going to replicate it soon. That's not the way YouTube works. YouTube doesn't go, oh, this video got 1 million views, so we'll just start shipping out all their videos. They take one video at a time and they kind of test the waters with it. So the difference, like I've had some of my crappiest videos ever get 70 times, 80 times the views that my normal video, all my other videos don't get. And so no editing, or not no editing, no sound, crappy camera work, everything else, but it happened to be in front of the right 100 people at the right time, in the right moment, in their right mood. So YouTube is a lot of luck. But in order to get lucky, here's the thing I'm going to give advice on this, because this is something I was asked about. In order to get lucky on YouTube, you got to work for it. You got to actually produce something. So that's all we have for today. Until next time, just remember, RV stands for what? Toolkit and sense of humor. See you tomorrow, folks.